When I was 25 and a half, I started a podcast. The goal? To review some of the newest and the latest movies, along with some other stuff. With the help of my guests, I was able to do this, but there were dark forces tampering with my podcast, and with me. They called it an improvised podcast for some reason. I eventually found help in the form of myself. Yes, the me from a universe where the movies I reviewed got delayed. Apparently, my podcast made it to his universe. I know now that it is my duty, for the good of that universe, nay, the multiverse, to keep recapping and reviewing these movies, to hold listeners over until they could eventually see the movies as they were made in their world. For some reason, they come out differently in my world, but it's kind of entertaining that way. My name is Steven Shinder, and this is Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay. I'm your host, as always, Steven Shinder, and this time we're talking about a movie that came out quite a while ago, a year ago, actually, before this podcast even started. You know, Easter weekend is the thing that's coming up when this episode comes out, so figured it'd be cool or interesting to do an episode on Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. Now, in that other universe, it got delayed a few times. Apparently, it's out in Australia now, but obviously we haven't seen that version. But yeah, like I'm sure there will be some listeners who don't know the show, and when they listen to this, will think this is some delayed April Fool's Day prank. But those who know the show know that we describe the movies as they are in our universe, and sometimes they come out differently for some reason. But joining me for this episode, you've heard him before if you've been listening the last good while, it is Greg.
Hello, I have returned yet again.
Yes, somehow.
It's going to be fun. Somehow I've returned.
Yeah, somehow Greg returned.
Greg returned.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we've started a joke in Star Wars Society where we type Gerg in the chat when we're like trying to like get his attention. But yeah, so we're talking about Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. So I guess first we'll go over like if we've had any experiences with prior Peter Rabbit media. So I guess I can start. I think it was like in kindergarten or something, like the teacher read my class like the storybook of Peter Rabbit, like some sort of version of it. I remember like he almost gets caught by the gardener and like loses his jacket or something, but ends up home. And then at some point, I think they showed us like a cartoon version of it. I'm not sure what year, but yeah. So did you have any other Peter Rabbit experiences before these particular movies?
I was brought up with the books, so I read those. I had like the Beatrix Potter stuff.
Okay.
Apart from that, not much.
Yeah, it's kind of like I feel like storybooks and those sort of things have become kind of like they're not necessarily niche, but they don't have like huge fandoms surrounding them the way that like some superhero franchise or some space thing have, you know?
Yeah, like I had the Alice in Wonderland books when I was younger, and it's like everyone knows the books, but obviously more people are aware of the Disney movies nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean Alice in Wonderland also had a rabbit in the beginning, like she follows it and that like starts the whole thing. So yeah, rabbits have a huge place in literature, I guess.
And Rabbits, the David Lynch thing that we watched recently, which was super weird.
Yeah, he describes that web series as a sitcom.
Well, it was situational. Comedic? I would not think so.
I mean, I did think it was kind of funny how the laughter or whatever sometimes felt forced, and I guess that was the point of it. Like, it's kind of a satire of sitcoms, I think.
What, the laugh track?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit on the nose.
Yeah, but I mean, I did like the creepy atmosphere of that, and just like the people wearing the rabbit heads and costumes or whatever is just
Yeah, it
bizarre.
was. And then he watched how many rocks were there. That turned into
Oh yeah.
to a mind bending.
But anyway, getting back to Peter Rabbit. So the first movie came out like I think around Easter 2018, or like spring of that year. What did you think of that one?
It's all right. Like it's like Paddington. Like Paddington. I don't know if you've seen Paddington
Oh yeah,
movies.
I know for sure that I've seen the first one. I can't for the life of me remember if I've seen the second one, but I remember liking the first one.
Yeah, it's like the blend of CGI and live action. It's like a family thing that isn't amazing. It's just like to satisfy the families who go to the cinema and stuff. But like, what I don't like about the Peter Rabbit movie is James Corden. Like, I just don't like him in general. Not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of experience with him. Like, I did like his character Craig in Doctor Who, but I haven't really watched much of his talk show because, like he actually replaced Craig Ferguson on the Late Late Show, and Craig Ferguson was so good that like when he retired from doing talk shows, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done with like keeping up with talk shows because nothing is going to satisfy me as much as the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. Like I have watched a couple clips of interviews with James Corden here and there, but that's about it, I think, unless there's like some other roles I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I don't understand the American obsession with late late shows. Like, there's so many.
Yeah, I mean, we have like the Late Show, the Late Late Show, Late Night, the Tonight Show. It's like there's a lot, and it's
Saturday Night Live.
yeah. Well, Saturday Night Live is more of a skit show than a talk show, but yeah,
Yeah.
like we have lots of talk shows because people want to promote their movies and whatnot.
Yeah, we have like two of those, not as much as you
Two
do.
of them. Yeah, well, where the two of those called over there?
Let me find the British talk show. I don't watch them, but you get Graham Norton, if you've
Oh
heard
yeah,
of
I've
him.
heard of him.
Yeah, and then you had wait, is that it? Yeah, that's the all that's going
Oh,
on at the
there's only
moment. Is
one,
that?
so you were like oversold it.
Yeah, I doubled it. Yeah, that's literally the only one I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean England is smaller than the US, so it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, you need one for like every state.
Yeah, like late night California, late show Nevada.
Probably.
Right. But yeah, like I actually remember enjoying the first movie like more than I expected. Like it's not just that I like rabbits. Like I did have a couple pet rabbits when I was a kid, but I went into the first one fully expecting it to be pretty stupid.
I just read the voice cast list. Cottontail was previously voiced by Daisy Ridley. I don't know how that went over my head.
So like in the first movie, there were kind of stupid moments. Like sometimes, like the soundtrack has some songs that slap, but other times it felt like the songs were trying too hard, and they'd have like the birds like singing along to the music, and it was just weird. But like overall, I thought the first one, well, like this is gonna be a weird comparison, but it felt to me like a Tom and Jerry movie, but if it were good.
Are you comparing it to the?
Like I actually enjoyed the first Peter Rabbit more than the new Tom and Jerry movie.
Yeah, the only thing that brought it down was James Corden. I liked everyone else, to be fair. Like Domhnall Gleeson. Oh, I love him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because okay, so the movie is rated PG and it does feel like kind of a children's movie because it follows like these talking rabbits, but the romantic comedy aspect of it kind of takes a spotlight in certain scenes to a point where it's like
Yeah.
it kind of feels like they're trying to like appeal to multiple audiences by trying to have everything at once. And
If the rabbits weren't there, it would have been a good rom-com.
yeah, because what? Yeah, like as much as I like the movie, I think it could have worked as well, but like it would have needed to have a different conflict, obviously. But
Yeah,
yeah,
obviously, yeah.
and like Domhnall Gleeson has funny moments in the movie, and Rose Byrne, I think she's pretty cool. There are moments where she's too harsh on the rabbits, and like the moment like halfway through where it looks like Peter messed up the painting and it like she just lets him go out in the rain. I thought that was kind of harsh, but I do think it's kind of sweet how like eventually Peter and Donald Gleason have a truce like after all the explosives and stuff, which was ridiculous. But like by the end,
The tree.
like by the end, yeah, they're like a united family. Like it's kind of weird how possessive Peter is of Rose Byrne's character, but by the end they're like all copacetic, if I'm using that word correctly, and it's like all good. And there's like a book made out of Peter Rabbit's adventures, I guess, like sort of a nod to the real life book.
Rose Byrne, she was one of Padme's handmaidens
Oh,
in Attack of the Clones.
oh, okay. I must have forgotten about that because I know Keira Knightley was one of them, and
Yeah, yeah, she was in The Phantom Menace, not in Rose Byrne's one in
oh
Attack of
yeah,
the
it's when
Clones.
they're like on the bus or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, and she also played Moira McTaggart in X-Men First Class and X-Men Apocalypse. So that's, I guess, where I knew her best from. But
yeah, that don't really know. I think I know her most from Insidious.
oh, was that her in those movies? Okay, I must have forgotten. Yeah, like what's also kind of interesting is like these Peter Rabbit movies are directed by Will Gluck, and he's had kind of an interesting journey through like the different types of films he's directed. So he started with Fired Up, which is like a comedy where these young guys are trying to get with the girls, and weirdly he like used a pen name for that, like Freedom Jones for some reason. And like it's a pretty typical movie. I remember catching it on Comedy Central one time. And then
Hmm.
the year after that, in 2010, Easy A, pretty much the inverse of Fired Up. Like it's Emma Stone, basically like a modern version of The Scarlet Letter. I don't know if you've ever seen Easy A, but it's a comedic classic in my book.
I've seen his next movie after
Uh,
this,
oh, Friends
sadly.
with Benefits.
Yes, regrettably.
Yeah, that came out like around. So that one has Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake, and it came out around the time that a similar movie came out called No Strings Attached, with Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher. So yeah, it was just one of those weird times where similar movies with a similar premise came out like months apart.
I mean, Justin Timberlake, he's been in like what? Wait, he's been in Shrek the Third? What was he in Shrek the Third? Oh
Oh,
my
did
God.
did did he voice Arthur Pendragon in that one, or did he voice someone else?
Yeah, he
Shoot.
did. Yeah.
That was it.
How did you?
Okay, but that's his best role.
No, I was gonna say The Social Network. He was good in
Oh,
that.
fair.
Yeah, those two.
Those two will go down in the lexicon of cinema. Yeah, and then Will Gluck was a producer on some movie called About Last Night, which I guess is a romantic comedy. And then, but the next movie he directs is, it's that remake of Annie from 2014. I haven't seen any version of that.
I've seen the old one. It's all right. I mean, I wouldn't watch it again, but like I'm not really a fan of musicals, really, apart from Moulin Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
Moulin Rouge is my
Oh,
favorite
yeah. I
musical.
didn't care as much for Moulin Rouge, but there are other musicals that I do like. So after Annie, it's Peter Rabbit comes out 4 years after that, and now we have Peter Rabbit 2. So it's kind of a strange journey how like Will Gluck goes from these comedies that have to do with sex or people talking about sex, and then like these like movies like Annie and the Peter Rabbit movies, which are like more family friendly.
So it's like growing up. I mean, I'd rather be making family films than rom-coms.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I think it definitely depends on the premise, because you could easily make a really bad family film if you're given like all the wrong components, and like it wouldn't land as well. But the first movie did surprisingly land for me. Like there are better family movies, but like so the first movie also had like this controversy with the blackberries.
Blackberry
Yeah,
Incident.
because Donald Gleason's character, like his last name is McGregor. I'm trying to remember his first name. It's Thomas McGregor. Like there's that blackberry incident where, because he's allergic to blackberries, and like the rabbits are using traps on him because he won't let them into their garden, and then they use these blackberries to trigger his allergy and to nearly kill him. And it's just really wild that that is in this family film. So I can kind of understand the controversy. Like, but like if it was in something like American Dad, because there's like, have you ever watched American Dad? Okay,
No.
well, there's this episode where Stan gives Roger the alien the thing that he has to like inject in himself if his allergy is ever triggered, because he wants to make Roger feel more important. And so Roger
Mm.
sneaks something into his food that triggers his allergy, and it's like his face is puffing up, and Roger's like, "I am the decider," and everyone's like panicking and say, "Give him the thing," and he's like, oh, "Okay," and he tries using it, but it turns out he already used it on himself, and so like Stan is still like almost dying, and then the episode just ends. And I think in a show that's like more mature, it's kind of funny and more acceptable there for some reason. Whereas in Peter Rabbit, it might have been a bit too far. I don't know. Like I was actually kind of surprised how at the beginning of that first movie, McGregor's great uncle dies from a heart attack, and the rabbits are like celebrating it.
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
dark.
This was supposed to be a family movie.
We definitely haven't heard that before.
Right. Oh yeah, in Clone Wars, yeah, this running joke of like definitely a kids show when like something that's not very kid friendly happens.
Yeah, when people die.
So yeah, that's the first movie, and so we get to Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. So it begins with this wedding between Tom McGregor and Rose Byrne's character. I can't remember if her name is pronounced B or Bo. Like it's been a year since I watched. Okay,
I think
because
it's
it's been a
B.
year since I watched the movie in the theater. So yeah, it's been a while. And someone says something about the rabbits being like their children, and then Peter gets like pissed off and like hits Donald Gleason.
Yeah, because he thinks having children.
Yeah, because yeah, and like they want to have children at some point, and so they talk about it and like walk in the park. And Donald Gleason does this thing where like he's like, imagine like us having children and like them rolling around, and he like rolls down the hill in the park like kids do, but he like loses control and just keeps on falling. And I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes, it was. It was funny when he hit the lamppost at the end.
Yeah, like have like that lamppost, I'll admit, came out of nowhere. Like it's like you sometimes have lampposts in the park, like if it's like on a path or whatever. But this lamppost was just right in the middle of the grass, and it's like, wait, they didn't see it? So I thought that was kind of ridiculous.
It was meant to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I do kind of feel that this second movie ups the slapstick comedy maybe a bit too much. Like, I thought the first movie had a good balance, but this one kind of is too over reliant on the slap.
Yeah, and it also felt like a rehash of the first movie because didn't they like go like on an adventure per se in London or whatever, and now they're doing the exact same thing in the second movie.
Right, because Peter Rabbit, like, you would think that he grew over the course of the first movie, but here he's still like up to his like shenanigans, and he's like tired of being called out for his troublemaking. So he decides that he wants to run away and like travel around, and like his family like worries about him, so they try tracking him and eventually catch up to him. But this premise actually kind of reminds me of have you ever heard of The Mouse and the Motorcycle? Okay,
No.
so there was this book series. It's like a trilogy. It's very like chapter books for kids. They're called The Mouse and the Motorcycle, Runaway Ralph, and Ralph S. Mouse. And they're basically about these mice who live in a hotel, and they're just like trying to survive. And like one of them, Ralph, befriends a kid who has a toy motorcycle, and that's where it becomes his trademark vehicle, so to speak. I used to have like the special version, like adaptation of that first book, and like watch it a bunch as a kid. And so it wasn't until last year that I watched Runaway Ralph and Ralph S. Mouse, which was kind of weird. In the last movie, Ralph is made more annoying instead of cute, like in the first two. And Runaway Ralph was okay, like the adaptation was okay, but the claymation for the cats was weird to me. But yeah, all that is to say that it kind of reminds me of that premise of like Ralph is tired of being called out for his shenanigans, so he decides to like run away. And he kind of this same thing happening in the second Peter Rabbit movie.
Yeah, so he's basically running away twice.
Yeah.
It's like he.
Yeah, because well, at one point I think they travel to London to talk to Donald Gleason in the first one.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't run away. Yeah, he chose to go there, but now
Yeah.
he's running away.
Yeah, and then like they showed highlights of the journey back and just all these like different vehicles that they were on in that movie. But yeah, in this movie he's running away, and they go to a few different stops before they get to London, and one of them is Stonehenge.
Yeah, where Peter Rabbit said some sort of incantation. I wasn't sure what was going on. He was making funny noises, and then the bright lights started happening. It went dark real fast.
Yeah, it's yeah, like there are these weird noises. Like this moment really reminded me of that rabbits thing that David Lynch put out. Like you have like this sinister voice, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And so they decide to like try running away from there, but on their way out they accidentally like make one of the stones fall against another, and so it's like a domino effect sort of thing, which it felt cliche to me, but I mean, what can you do?
I mean, it's like destroying the Golden Gate Bridge, isn't it?
Well, like in X-Men 3.
Like, yeah, you got to destroy Stonehenge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Have you ever been to Stonehenge?
No, it's too far north.
Yeah, I actually went there when I studied abroad over there. It was pretty cool.
Where is it?
Like my dad told me to like listen to the energy when I go there. So like when I was there, like, as a joke, they have these like audio tour things that you play on the device. And so when I was there, I took a picture of myself holding that up to my ear, and I captioned it like I'm listening to the energy.
I thought it was more north than I expected. It's literally just right next door. I was like, okay. I mean, it's not right next door, it's a
No,
couple
it's right
hours
next
away,
door.
but
Everything in England is within walking distance.
yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. In America, you gotta like, I don't know how far away towns are from each other, but you
Yeah,
definitely
you
can't
gotta take
cycle
an
between
airplane
towns.
from Los Angeles to San Fernando Valley. Those are actually right next
What?
to each other. That was a joke.
What's San
It's like
Fernando?
it's like in or
It's
around
such a
the
place.
LA area
Oh, Fresno. I like Fresno. Fresno and Modesto. Do you know where those are
in
from?
California.
Monsters
Oh, the
versus
ones.
Aliens. Monsters versus Aliens. Fresno and
Yeah, dang.
Modesto. Well, they're literally just on that
I
line.
feel like everyone is talking about monsters versus aliens recently because I heard a couple people compare like the new Star Trek Prodigy. Like, there's like a goo blob looking character that reminded a couple people I know about monsters versus aliens.
I mean, it is a quality
I
movie.
mean, is it?
Shut up. It's a childhood. Can even call it a
I think
childhood?
it
When
came
did it
out
come out?
2009. Like,
That counts. I was a
yeah, like I
youngin.
remember watching it and thinking it was okay, but like I don't remember too much about it. So I don't know. I know there was like also a Nickelodeon TV show of it, and like the animation quality looked significantly worse.
Oh, it's made by the same guy who did Sharkdale. But then he ended up doing Detective Pikachu, so I guess
Redeemed
he
himself.
redeemed himself.
Yeah.
Oh, and God of his
Oh,
travels. Wow,
the Jack
this dude
Black
has made some
one.
good stuff. Yeah, he's made some good movies. This dude,
I do.
Rob Letterman.
I do. I did like Shark Tale growing up. Like it's yeah, like
It's a good
like
movie. It's
DreamWorks
good.
and Pixar were competing with each other, and that was one of those like similar movies. But like with Shark Tale, it's like the fish can have like a city with electricity somehow.
It's like a more Sin City
Sin
version of
City.
Finding Nemo.
It's like in black and white and super dark.
Yeah, I've seen Sin City and Sin City a Dame to Die For. They're good.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
alright.
Shark Tale is basically a mix of Jaws and The Godfather because you have those like loan sharks who are like
God,
gangsters or mobsters or whatever.
I honestly don't remember much about that film apart from Will Smith and his like love
Right.
interest.
This is gonna be a hot take, but I actually like Shark Tale more than either Jaws or The Godfather.
That's fine. If we're gonna say Finding Nemo there, and good for you.
Yeah.
Because Finding Nemo was the first film I
Oh,
ever saw at the
nice.
cinema.
Yeah,
So
I do think Finding Nemo is the better film between the two.
it's the best fish film.
I mean, there were some things that annoyed me about Finding Nemo, which is why when I watched Finding Dory many years later, I remember
Story is
enjoying
not
it
good.
more than Finding Nemo, but I can't remember much about Finding Dory now, which I guess is ironic because like the memory loss.
Yeah, you're basically Dory.
Hi, I'm Steven. Who are you?
I would definitely prefer Finding Nemo to Finding Dory. Like Finding Dory is okay. You can tell they're trying to cash in with all those
Yeah,
sequels. The only thing that wasn't was Monsters
yeah,
University,
that was a prequel.
and that was a
Yeah, like
prequel,
in
which
the
was okay.
2010s, you had very few Pixar movies that were not sequels or prequel. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of in a new era where they're not relying on that so much, which is refreshing.
Yeah, they had The
Yeah.
Incredibles 2 as well.
And like Toy Story 3 and 4 and Cars 2 and 3 came out that decade as well.
Yeah, I don't think you have any planned sequels
Yeah,
so
I
far
think
this
the only
decade.
thing that's kind of connected to something is the Buzz Lightyear movie, but that's more of a well, yeah, it's like about the
That's
person who
different.
inspires the Buzz Lightyear toy, so it's kind of a distant prequel, but
Weird.
and I'm trying to remember like who. I think Chris Evans is the one who's voicing Buzz in that. So yeah, in Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. So they're on the train to London, and Cottontail discovers like these sweets, and they're like, oh no, she's discovered sugar, and it kind of feels like Over the Hedge, where like for her, like time seems to slow down, and it's like to everyone else she's like walking or running super fast, but it's I don't know if you've ever seen Over the Hedge, but it's basically like Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yeah. Yes, I've seen Over the Hedge and the X-Men
Yeah,
movie.
they're both so similar. like there's that squirrel who like takes the coffee, and it's, well, I guess it kind of reminds me of Ice Age, because you have similar types of characters like Sid the sloth and Scrat the saber-toothed squirrel.
I mean, there were quite a few of those, weren't there? Of like animated things about just animals.
You mean for like forever?
Thinking that's no, like around the same time as Over the Hedge. I remember there being
Yeah,
a couple.
like in
Maybe I just
3D
forgot what they're
animated
called.
stuff, they were like doing more of that around that time. Like I remember Open Season was one, and I think
That's
Hoodwink was also of that era, but with anthropomorphic animals. That one was pretty funny.
Get B movie.
I mean, that's not an animal movie, but the bear from Over the Hedge makes a cameo in that one. Yeah, it's all one connected cinematic universe.
I mean,
Bolt
was weird.
Bolt was basically like Toy Story, but with a dog. Like he's basically Buzz Lightyear, right? Like he thinks it's real. And what's weird is years later we got The Secret Life of Pets, which was also like Toy Story, and that one dog was jealous of the new dog. Like everyone's just copying Toy Story in different ways.
Yeah, everyone does that nowadays. That's probably not true.
Right. I'm sure the Wrong Turn reboot was not ripping off Toy Story.
I mean, there was some crazy dude who would probably kill toys and make some weird mashups.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
See, it works out.
So Cottontail causes some trouble because she's going super fast, and that's why they get like kicked off the train. But thankfully, they're like in London by that point, and like Peter also meets this other rabbit who's kind of a troublemaker, so they kind of bond and whatnot. But it's like it kind of feels like he has to like choose between that person and his family, who are like trying to dissuade him and trying to get him to come home.
Doesn't that person turn out to be one of his like friends of his dad
like,
or something?
A huge revelation. Like he knew his dad, but like they were good buddies, but then like his dad decided to settle down, and so it kind of feels like he's trying to reconnect with his dad in a way, because like obviously their parents are long gone, and it's like I guess for Peter it's like he's trying to reconnect with his dad in a way that he couldn't.
So he has to choose between his dad's legacy or
and eventually, because in the first movie Peter Rabbit does the speech, but his like his cousin, the one with like the brown coat and the brown fur, he gets to do the speech where he's like, the family is also your father's legacy, not just the troublemaking that he did, and that like blows his mind. He's like, whoa. But like of course before all that, they like go to different places all over London. Like they go to this farmer's market and get some food, and like obviously people are like freaked out that like all the food is being taken. And so the rabbits get captured, and like Donald Gleason and Rose Byrne, I don't know why I keep saying their actor names instead of their character names. I don't know. I think I just prefer their actor names.
Yes, because he wants to talk about Cottontail and Flopsy and Mopsy and Mrs.
Right.
Tiggy Winkle.
Yeah, so
They both play. Domhnall Gleeson and Rose Byrne play. I don't know who makes it, Jeremy Fisher or Jemima Puddle Duck.
yeah.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, they were pretty forgettable in this movie, I feel. Like they didn't those I guess they just wanted those actors to have their shot at voice acting, but those particular animal characters didn't really do much. But yeah, like they're human characters, Tom McGregor and Bo or B or whatever
B, I
realize
think,
that the
yeah.
rabbits are gone, and so they try to like track them, and they hire this like expert animal tracker investigator person. Like that's literally his title that he says. It's Nigel Basil Jones, who's played by David Oyelowo.
I was annoyed at the end though because they kind of went into the trope of they find someone to go look for a pet, and then they end up having to. He ends up stealing them for himself, and then they're like, "Oh, you gotta prove that you can take care of these animals, or take them away to a
Yeah,
shelter
yeah.
because you just let
And
them."
so they end up having to do like this written test of like they have to like fill in multiple choice questions and answer like an essay question, and it's like this wouldn't happen in real life, right? Like doing all this like paperwork to prove that they can like raise these rabbits.
As their children.
Yeah, but they do the written tests and they like barely scrape by. Like they have funny answers. Like there's actually a multiple choice question where it's like, what do you do with your pet rabbit? And it's like A, feed it, B, throw some dynamite, C, throw a holy hand grenade, or D, all of the above. And like Donald Gleason is like struggling with that question, but he ultimately chooses food, which is the right answer. They end up passing the tests like just barely, and they also get like the rabbits back. Yeah, like the rabbits don't do a whole lot of memorable things around London other than like getting sweets from different shops. I mean, I guess there's this festival, but like they don't even like they cause trouble there, but it's like annoying slapstick stuff, and it just like that festival sequence kind of dragged for me, to be honest.
I mean, it was enjoyable just for the laughs. Like it didn't add much to the story, but it's like huge fight scenes. They're just there to
Yeah,
pad the
they're there
runtime.
to pad Inkton the runtime.
Delete that from the
No,
top.
I'm leaving that in, even though it was pretty bad.
Release the Steven cut.
I did think it was rather funny though when it was like they bump into a relative of Thomas McGregor, because like they bump into his distant cousin who just happens to be Ewan McGregor. So it's funny because they're both Star Wars people.
Yeah, then you just see him come out of the shadows and go, "Hello there,"
Yeah,
and then the
like
crowd just
everyone
goes
just
wild.
yells General Kenobi at him, and so Thomas like speaks to him, and Ewan is like, you know, if you had picked up acting, you would have been really good in a Star Wars movie.
You're my brother. You're the chosen one.
Yeah, because for those who may not know, Donald Gleason played Hux in episode 7, 8, and 9. So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, he was in so many movies that I watched in a row by mistake.
By mistake? How'd that happen?
That was one of the most. No, it was one of like the best experiences I've ever had. So I was basically just like going through Netflix, watching some random films on my list. So I was like, okay, I'll watch The Revenant. This looks fun. Domhnall Gleeson's in it, and I'm like, huh, I remember him. He sucks, isn't he? So I looked up his filmography, and then I realized he was in Harry Potter,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, he plays
I've seen the
Bill
Harry Potter
Weasley.
movie so many times. It looks so different. Yeah, So I was like, oh, okay, that's quite cool. So I finished The Revenant, and then I picked my next film, which was Ex
Yeah,
Machina. And guess what?
yeah, he's in that one with
He's in that
Oscar
movie too.
Isaac, who played Poe.
And I was like, whoa, I
Yeah,
really can't get away from
it's
this
your
guy.
destiny to just keep watching him.
Yeah. And then his dad popped up as
Yeah,
well,
because
some
his
other
dad
stuff.
played Mad Eye Moody, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
this is insane.
like I, yeah, I
Actor.
recently watched this other movie that Donald Gleason is in called Frank. It's where like he joins a rock band or whatever, and like one of the musicians wears this giant head all the time, and it's like I rather enjoyed it. And but recently there was an advertisement for a TV show with Donald Gleason in it called Frank of Ireland. And so when I saw that title, I was like, oh, okay, they're turning this movie into a TV show,
Okay.
right? And it turns out it's not the case. It's just a completely different premise, completely different character, and just Frank is in both titles, and they're both Irish movies.
Wait, it's got Michael
Oh,
Fassbender
does
and
it?
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
Oh, she's
in
so
Frank,
good. Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah, she was in Nanny McPhee in The Big Bang, which is
Right.
where I know her most. I've seen
See,
that. And The Big Bang.
I haven't
It's
seen
the
either of
second one.
those.
Classics. Especially the
Okay.
2000s one. It's basically what light living in Britain's like.
Quintessentially British.
Quintessentially
I
British.
feel like I've heard that somewhere, but I can't remember where.
Yeah.
Is that just a thing that people say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gleason's filmography, and apparently he played. There was this movie a few years ago called Goodbye, Christopher Robin, and in that movie he plays the author of the Winnie the Pooh poems and stories and whatever, which is funny because a year after that there was the movie Christopher Robin, where Ewan McGregor played Christopher Robin.
I remember that. I saw both of those, and I was like,
Yeah, I've only
I
seen
definitely
the
preferred Ewan
Ewan
McGregor's
McGregor
performance.
one, but I really enjoyed that one. Like, it's kind of like Hook, but with Winnie the Pooh, I guess. Actually, I vaguely remember making some comparison between Christopher Robin and the Paddington movie. I can't remember which one I watched first, but I remember they felt kind of similar to me.
Yeah, I can see that. Ish.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But anyway, so Ewan McGregor has this inspiring speech about family, and that like brings the human characters and their rabbits closer together.
And then Ewan McGregor goes, Rey is not a Skywalker.
Yeah, it's like sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke. Like because this is like obviously post Rise of Skywalker release, so everyone's seen it by then, so he can spoil what happens, and like he like sort of winks at just breaking the fourth wall, and
that
so
was
at
good.
the end of the movie, when everything's resolved, we get this flash forward of the Donald Gleason and Rose Byrne, like they have their baby in the hospital, and it's like this cute moment where like the rabbits are like, for some reason the hospital is allowing for the rabbits to be in the waiting room. like what kind of hospital is this that just allows animals with jackets in the waiting room?
I was kind of hoping for a scene from Toy Story 3 where the baby would just like play with the rabbits and like literally destroy them. Just like wave them around by the necks.
Yeah, no, they
But
seem
no, didn't get
to
that.
like the baby seems to be taken with them. Like it's like Peter goes close up and the baby like rubs his like forehead or whatever. And of course, Ewan McGregor is there as well, and they like want him to be the godfather of their baby because
It was a weird choice to make the baby CG
CGI
though.
baby looked pretty creepy to me in the shots that lingered on it for too long. Like, I don't know why they didn't just use an actual baby.
I guess maybe to use the budget on more rabbit babies. Rabbit babies. There's a third one.
Right, but what'd you think of the music for the movie overall, like the soundtrack?
It's quite forgettable.
It
Not gonna
felt
lie.
a bit more try hard than the first one, to the point where it feels like Alvin and the Chipmunks
Yeah, it was
singing
just
that
general
lonely
stuff.
song where it's like Peter's all by
I
himself
am
and
so
whatnot.
lonely.
I do kind of like that the dad's friend joins their family and starts like living with them. So I guess like that could provide a foil if they do make a third one. But yeah, the soundtrack overall it wasn't as it was more forgettable than like the first movie soundtrack, I guess.
It did feel very generic for a family movie. You know, like it's just like, oh, I don't know how to describe generic family movie
Yeah,
soundtracks,
yeah, like the background music,
but
like
that's what
not
it
the vocal
was.
music, but the background music felt pretty generic. Like it didn't really stand out as much as like the music might stand out in like a really good Pixar movie. And like you have the obvious
Yeah, exactly.
pop hits that like just everyone knows, like YMCA.
And then when they all decided to sing "It's Raining Men," but instead of
Yeah, that
"Raining
was
Men,"
a
they
weird
sang "Raining
choice.
Rabbits." Because that was during the party scene where they were all at the nightclub and they were just throwing up all
Yeah,
the
they're like
rabbits.
throwing all the rabbits in the air. Yeah, there were also a couple of
Like
Spice
you
Girls
don't care.
songs. So yeah, like it just felt like the obvious hits were being thrown into this movie. Yeah, like it didn't feel
Hits from 20
very
years ago.
inspired. So, what are your final thoughts and score out of 10?
The movie, it was okay. It was a good family movie. Um, the voice acting was well done by everyone apart from James Corden. Was Margot
Yeah.
Robbie's good as usual. She's great. She's great. Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson's stellar. For the rating system that we go for, I would probably give it a 6 out of 10 David Lynch. I don't Yes, 6 out of 10 David
Oh man, can
Lynches.
you imagine like multiple David Lynches?
Oh, their minds together would like
But
break
yeah,
the
like
universe.
that was actually the score I was gonna give. Weirdly enough, like 6 out of 10 chocolate eggs, because Easter, I guess. Like the first movie is probably maybe a 7.5 for me. Like I did enjoy it quite a bit. Um, well, it's maybe 7 or 7.5, I don't know, but yeah, like the second movie I didn't enjoy as much. So yeah, like some of the slapstick didn't do much for me. The music wasn't as good, and some of it felt generic. Like as cool as Ewan McGregor's cameo was, like the movie story overall just could have been better. But yeah. So I guess that'll do it. Thanks for joining me again, Greg. Where can people find the stuff you're part of?
You can find the Sussex Sci-Fi and Horror Society on Facebook. Just search up Sci-Fi and Horror Society, it should come up. And the Discord link should be on the profile. For Star Wars Society, Steven should link that at the bottom.
Yeah, or else.
Because we haven't got a Facebook page or an Instagram because I really can't be bothered.
Right.
Who has the time for
Yeah,
that,
I'll
eh?
link those in show notes as usual. As for my links and whatnot, you can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can find my fantasy horror comedy novel Lemons Like Rain on Amazon. More info at stevenshinder.com. And you can find Star Trek Culture episodes I've been on over at the Culture Slate YouTube channel. And if you want to email Delayed Replay, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about movies and maybe the tangents we went on. I don't know. And we might read your thoughts on the show. Speaking of CGI babies, the topic of the next episode will be the Boss Baby family business.
Oh, I saw the trailer for that, and it honestly made me feel sick because one of the babies said "boomer," and I just immediately exited my body.
Yeah, that'll be the next episode. But without further delay, have a good day.